Polish FM Sikorski says Putin over-worries about possible defeat ending 1,000 years of Russia history.
Here's a summary of the article.
Telewizja Polska SAW like G processes your personal data collected when you visit individual websites on the TVP. Telewizja Polska, IAB trusted partners and other TVP trusted partners process your data for the purposes of functions and special functions. You have the right to request access, rectification, deletion or limitation of data processing. Consent to the use of data for some IAB trusted partners and TVP trusted partners may be related to the transfer of data to the United States or other third countries. In connection with the above, we would like to inform you about the possible risk that may be associated with the transfer of data to third countries, consisting in the possible lack of an adequate level of protection of natural persons related to the processing of their personal data, which is guaranteed by the provisions of the GDPR, due to the lack of an adequacy decision by the European Commission and the lack of adequate security. The user's personal data processed by TVP may be processed both on the basis of the user's consent as well as on the basis of a legitimate interest, i.e. without the consent of the portal user. TVP processes user data on the basis of a legitimate interest only in situations where it is necessary for the provision and proper operation of the portal, i.e. maintenance and technical support of the portal, ensuring security, preventing fraud and removing errors, statistical measurements necessary for the proper functioning of the portal.
This post received a score of 4,700, with an upvote ratio of 96%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
At this point, Putin is worried that defeat will end Putin.
He's worried about the Gaddafi treatment.
The last Russian revolution ended with a brutal treatment for the Tsar and family. He knows what is possible. There is a reason why he hates Lenin so much, even if he idealizes Stalin. He idealizes the Tsars and the Russian Empire too. Nothing would be more fitting than for his reign to end with the same treatment. He deserves it after all.
I know Putin is kind of a dumbass, but he's like 50x smarter than Tsar Nicholas II, and that's probably not an exaggeration.
The only thing a Russian defeat in Ukraine will end is Putin himself, and he knows it.
Like every Russian Tsar, Putin considers himself to be the state.
And also he knows there is no such a thing as retired Tsar.
Well, Nikki did retire. For a while.
Wow, I guess Russia is even weaker than it looks, if failing in a shitty land grab means the end of the country.
Just look up their demographic structure and look at how many 20-year-olds they have compared to 30-year-olds.
And constantly losing more and more. Idiots decided to speedrun societal and economical collapse for some reason.
Is Putin framing it like this because the Russian nuclear doctrine states that nuclear weapons may only be used if Russia faces existential threat?
Probably. I believe he exaggerates shit to maintain some public support for his dumb war. Russian history is a mess. They've lost millions and millions and millions of their people through an endless series of crises, wars and famines. Read about the Russian Civil War, the siege of Leningrad, and the fall of the USSR. And yet the Russian state is still here. Putin knows he's talking shit, but there'll always be idiots believing it.
Defeat features strongly in that 1,000 years of Russian history.
Depending on how you define it, Russia started as a relatively wee little nation in Eastern Europe anywhere from approximately 1,100 to 800 years ago. It stretches across most of Eurasia today. You don't get that big a country by losing a lot. Now, if you'd said Russia has a long history of defeats against roughly equivalent opponents, then you'd be 100% right. But, well, Russia has always had a talent for finding much weaker neighbors to try and brutally conquer.
Wow, they managed to defeat a bunch of reindeer-herding people. Russia's strong.
Basically, yes, but with a lot more ethnic cleansing and/or cultural destruction. Might seem a bit rich coming from an American, or hell, most extant nations on Earth, but all that was evil is shit too. At least some countries are trying to make good, rather than claiming the mass murder involved was actively glorious.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.